So we got told that if any athlete was to be seen in McDonald's, there's a McDonald's on site in the Paralympic Village.
There's a McDonald's in the Paralympic Village?
Yeah, and it's free. Amazing. So
that makes absolutely no...
No, I know.
My name is Nik Nagarkar and you are locked into Culture TV. For the culture, by the culture. Let's go.
Carly, thanks so much for coming down today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
So, what I found so amazing about your story is, so correct me if I'm wrong, you went to watch the London Olympics, right?
Yeah.
And then decided to become a Paralympian, or an Olympic athlete basically, just off going to visit the Olympics, is that correct?
Yeah, so I don't know what you know about sort of my life or sort of prior to that, but I hadn't really seen disability sport on telly before, so I couldn't tell you how Beijing went or anything like that. I don't recall seeing disabled people on the TV.
Yeah. So you'd never seen the Paralympics before?
No. To be honest, the Paralympics was never on much of mainstream TV.
Right.
So you might have seen the tokenistic race.
Yeah.
And it was predominantly a male race that you would see, but you would not see any sort of build-up. You would not see any sort of marketing campaign behind it. And there was a lack of awareness and education. So even myself, if I did see a glimpse of something on the TV, I would assume that person maybe didn't have the same disability as me, or particularly for wheelchair racers, for example. If I saw a wheelchair racer on the TV, I would just assume that they didn't have any legs because you can't see them.
Yeah.
So I just never really identified at all in that way. And you're right, so I saw it on the TV. Obviously it was the Olympics first, and because it was London, everywhere was just awash, wasn't it? With celebration, and even the office was buzzing about it. And then if you remember, people didn't want it to end. And then they started latching onto the Paralympics. And people were starting to buy tickets. And then I'd see in the media that, oh my goodness, Paralympic tickets are sold out for the first time ever.
Wow.
Then Channel 4 started their Superhuman campaign. And that had a massive impact on me. So to see disabled people being included in a sort of really glamorous, really sort of sexy marketing campaign and it be on mainstream TV, I was like, wow, that had such an impact on me. And then managed to get a ticket. I think it cost me like £1,000 for me and a friend to go to the closing ceremony. And I thought, I'm just going to do it. I don't care. It's not going to be in London in our lifetime, possibly again. And I'd seen bits on the TV, and the whole attempt at creating awareness and education around disability was massive, because actually, you know, the classifications are really difficult to understand, and you don't necessarily think, oh, that person's got cerebral palsy, or that person's visually impaired, or whatever. And there was a big education piece around it. So when I saw that all these athletes have cerebral palsy, some of them run, some of them can't run, some of them do wheelchair racing, some of them do throwing. It just opened up a whole new world of opportunities for me.
Wow. So literally you were there, and that something in you was triggered, and then from that point you went home, and then what happened? So you left London, got back to Manchester.
Yeah, I actually left London injured because I was a bit silly, I was just excited, and I overdid it. I ended up in an A&E with almost like a severely sprained tendon, and I was actually immobile. And at that point, you know, I had the crutch every now and then, but I wasn't a wheelchair user, and I was predominantly, you know, independent. And then all of a sudden, the day before I was meant to go to the closing ceremony, I was hobbling around in tears. I knew I couldn't make it.
Because of your sprained ankle?
With my ankle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I got a taxi to the stadium, which was as near as I could get it, which was probably about half a mile away.
Yeah.
My friend went into the stadium to get loads of game makers out of the stadium to come and get me in like a golf buggy.
Right.
They did. They got me in this golf buggy, and I literally got VIP treatment to the minute I set, foot on the javelin, which was the sort of, the tube, but for the event.
Yeah.
And it was just, and I came back from London having had that, seen the closing ceremony, and straight away I said to this friend that I went with, I'm going to be a wheelchair racer. And they honestly, any friend that I said that to in the first 2 weeks of me returning just laughed their heads off. I was a smoker.
Yeah.
I had
so
a bit
you weren't
of a
athletic
habit.
at all?
Just terrible. I was in really poor health. I didn't have I was allergic to exercise. People just it was a running joke in my sort of group of uni friends, you know. I didn't go to the gym.
Yeah.
The extent of my exercise was probably walking to the fridge and back. Yes, heavy smoker, party animal. I lived to work to live.
Yeah.
And that was, spending the weekends on the couch hungover.
Yeah.
That would be me.
Yeah.
And so obviously they had that picture of me in their head, and there was absolutely no way that you can rewire yourself and become somebody else to achieve that
to
ambition.
compete on the world stage 4 years later in Rio.
Yeah, with the same girls that were on the London 2012 start line. So that was epic.
That is mad.
Yeah, so I even knew at that point when I left that to do it, I had to catch up.
Yeah.
So I knew that it wasn't just enough for me to
train like
dip
them.
my toe in it.
Yeah.
I knew I had to find a coach, rent the equipment, change my habits overnight, go and find a club, train, and build it up. And
so tell me about that then. So you're now back here. You've made this decision. You got a sprained ankle.
Yeah.
Can't do nothing. So what then?
So, to be honest, it was a bit of a whirlwind. So I just knew I had this sort of really ambitious goal in my head, and I'd seen a glorified edit of what an athlete was like. Mm-hmm. So obviously, I'm a bit of a marketer's dream. So it's very easy to sell me something. Yeah. And I just had that picture in my head of glory, this is something that you can do, evidently, because there's people on the TV doing it. Yeah. You don't need head starts at, sports days anymore. You don't need to be the last person picked in a team, which as a child absolutely ruins your confidence. Yeah. It ruins your confidence to be the odd one out. Mm. And I just thought, no, this is my route. This is the way that I'm gonna prove to everybody that I can do it. Yeah. So I literally just rang around clubs, found a coach, luckily, who trained in Stockport, and he was like, he must have had quite a bit of interest off the back of the Paralympics because there was quite an influx of new people, and he was really, he was quite straight up with me and said, right, okay, I can get you to the Paralympics, but you need to put everything into this. Yeah. You need to put your life on hold.
For 4 years.
For 4 years, and you just need to do what I say.
Right.
Which is, quite difficult for me to do what people say. So, I, to be honest, I was like, I'll do it. And he said, right, come down. So I went down to the track and I was like, this is going to be so easy. And it was a shock. It really was not easy. I couldn't even get into the wheelchair that he had. I could not fit my bum into that chair. Yeah. And he's like, that's the biggest one I've got. Right. And he said, you're going to have to do some work on yourself. He said, get in that day chair. I call them day chairs, which is just a self-propelled chair that you see people in. Yeah. A sports wheelchair has 3 wheels. You've got one on the front and 2 on the back. He said, get in that day chair and just push yourself on the track. It must have taken me a good 10 minutes
to get around the track.
To do 400 metres.
Wow.
I could, when I left sport, when I retired sport, I could do 400 metres in 64 seconds. Really? So to do 400 metres in 64 seconds was a massive difference to doing my first 400 metres in a day chair in 10 minutes. It was laughable. I don't know how I came back.
So when you get in that day chair and you're going around in 10 minutes, what was going through your head? Like, have I bitten off more than I can chew it, or?
Yeah, definitely overwhelmed, worry, fear, because at the time where I was doing this 400 metres around the track, there was all the athletes going around the track, bombing it at like 20 mile an hour. And I'm just thinking, how am I going to get to that point? I was quite naive to start with. I didn't understand the difficulty or the journey that I would go on to become elite. And that was actually hard to overcome. So I was investing all this into into the physical side of it. So, eating better, stopped smoking, turned up to training when I got told to turn up to training. And I hadn't invested anything in the mental side. Right. And the knockbacks and the slow progress really was difficult to shake. Right. When I had my first competitive race, I think I'd only been doing racing for 6 months at this point.
So is this 6 months from like making the decision to your first competitive race?
Yeah. It was in Sheffield. It's quite a well-known arena. I panicked at the sound of the gun. And every bit of training went out of my head. And I got beat. I came last, and I got beat by an 11-year-old. Devastated. I was like, oh, not doing this. And I flounced off to the car, and I refused to come out the car. Wow. And my coach's partner at the time had to come to the car and coach me out, and she said, "You can do this. That was your first race." So imagine somebody that's never had any background in sport, who avoided sport at all costs, would also have a helper at school to actually take part in sport. So, I used to play rounders, for example, because I was forced to play rounders. I would hit the ball and my helper would run around the bases for me. That was the extent of my competitive sport experience. So she just said, "You've never done it before. You didn't know how that gun would make you feel. You didn't know what adrenaline would do for you."
So was that what it was? The gun went and then you just felt you would just get a rush of adrenaline, and then...
It was the adrenaline, and I think it was the build-up of the nerves. And that followed me for the whole season, the whole first season. So even though I got better and better, the thought of going back for a second season was too anxiety-inducing. And I thought to myself, I can't keep investing in the physical side of it and not invest in the mental side of it. So at that point, I got a high-performance coach.
Right. So tell me about that then. So you had the high-performance coach. What did they bring to the table for you to make you turn that corner?
So I worked with a fantastic coach called Martin Hall, and Martin had worked with a lot of sports people prior to me. I was his first sort of rodeo in terms of disabled sport. And I think I actually presented a bit of a challenge to him. Because as somebody growing up with a disability, I had internalised a lot of ableism. And a lot of negative opinions and thoughts about myself that other people might have. I internalized all of it. So he helped me to see that you have to rewire your neurological pathways. And as you can imagine, from the day I was born, where doctors were pretty much saying whatever she can do is a bonus, we don't know how she's going to turn out, to the day I left school, it was all, she can't do this, she can't do that. I was prohibited from joining in a lot of things. And he had his work cut out. He had to basically help me to find those strategies to build my own self-esteem and confidence. So
did you discover that during that process that there were more issues that you'd built up over the years since being a child that you hadn't even quite realised were there on the surface?
Yeah, he did. He managed to sort of work out my problem areas, but he also, which a lot of it was around self-doubt and self-belief, which is actually a common theme in a lot of athletes anyway. But he also discovered that as well as self-belief, it was a lack of role model. Right. So the lack of being able to see it being done in my circle or seeing
is believing, isn't it?
Yeah. And
obviously see someone else do it, it gives you that feeling that you can do it too.
Yeah, and I had that at the Paralympics. But you know, fast forward a year, that starts to fade. You know, it fades. Yeah. And so he always kept bringing me back to that point of you saw it, you believed it. And so as well as working on the self-doubt, he did a lot of visualization strategies. Right. So he was like, what's your end goal? What does good look like? And I kept saying good is winning. Right. So he kept saying you need to visualize getting over that start line. Yeah. You know, getting over the finish line first. You need to visualize a good start. So for 100 meters, if you don't have a good start, you pretty much lost the race. Yeah. And so I would fail at the start. I would literally like slip, especially if it was wet. I just wasn't very good at controlling those emotions on the start. Right. So he did a lot of that type of work to get me to calm down. Yeah. And just breathe. He also helped me to see the benefit in the small margins. Right. So the power of small margins. Okay. You're not going to get from, you know, A to Z in 60 seconds. Yeah. And he did a lot of work to help me break down the goal. Right. So actually, he helped me realise that even when you're failing, you are winning, because success is not that straight line that everybody thinks it is.
No, success, I always say this, I always feel like success is a series of failures.
I like that. I think it's true, yeah.
But slightly less failures at each point. Because even you could even argue that winning, if it wasn't in the time that you wanted, was a failure.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? It depends. I mean, it's pretty like negative mindset, that, but like
a lot of athletes are like that. Like I have seen people PB and win the race, but be gutted it's not a world record. Right. And I'm like, you know, but I'm coming from a very sort of late entry into sport. I've not had the benefit of coming into sport at, you know, grassroots, 13, 14 onwards.
So you had zero muscle memory?
Well, nothing. I came into sport at 27. Yeah. Obviously, I've retired now. Yeah. But I've still luckily got like some good shoulder definition that stayed. Everything else is gone. But I've got shoulders. I've got the shoulders.
So you had this high performance coaching, and so you did your first season, which was a flop.
Yeah, it was a massive flop.
And then you wanted to quit. So now that's year one. You got 4 years to the Olympics. So year two, you go back, but you've had this high performance training over the winter, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So I once I started working with Martin, I carried on that relationship until after I retired. Right. So he was with me all the time. Right. He was a fundamental part of my training program. Right. Because your brain needs training as much as the physical.
As the body.
Yeah, exactly. So he was just part, you know, I would schedule it in every 2 weeks. It was like, you know, we need a session. Yeah. I would also have a lot of learnings to build into my work. Right. So I would have to, you know, sit there and think about, well, what went right in that race? What went wrong in that race? Yeah. And so it was definitely a 4-year plan of working with Martin.
So at what point did you start to see, what can I say, like, did you start to see yourself turning the corner?
Because it all went so quickly, because I was basically getting up to the level of elite athlete in as little as 3 years. Yeah. It's quite a blur.
Yeah.
Because the speed I was going at, not, no pun, which by the way was fast. To achieve it, I didn't have a break, so I didn't see friends, I didn't see family.
Yeah.
I had no social life. I quit work in my last year. So I actually quit work completely in 2015.
Yeah.
And I think it was the cusp of 2014, 2015 where I started to become known.
Right.
And I knew in 2015 that if I didn't quit work,
Yeah.
that I wouldn't be able to make it to Rio, because at that point I was only, this is how crazy it is, at that point I was only top 10.
Right, in the UK?
For my class, But to get selected, you needed to be top 3.
Right.
At least. And then there's a whole bunch of other criteria that's attached to that.
Yeah.
So at the point where I was working full time and training full time, I was working 5 days a week and training 6 days a week.
Right.
So I would get on the track after work, spend 2 hours there, go home.
Yeah.
Luckily, my partner was just on hand. He was a very good support network. He was making my tea, shouting at me to get Epsom salts in the bath, all that type of thing.
Yeah.
So when I quit work in 2015, my training just went through the roof. It went from 6 days a week, once a day, to 12 times a week.
Wow.
So I was a full-time athlete in 2015.
Wow. It's quite a big jump just to go from getting beat by an 11-year-old in Sheffield to being top 10 in the UK. Even just that alone is massive. How did you get from getting beat by an 11-year-old at 27 to just getting what was that key moment from being pretty crap at this to being actually maybe there is a chance I'm not as bad as I thought? Do you remember that particular moment?
I do remember one particular race where the work had started to pay off, both the work on the track and the work with Martin. And it was actually the first race that my partner attended with me. Yeah. Actually, that's a lie. The first race that he attended, I was so nervous about him being there because he'd never seen or gone out with anybody that used a wheelchair. Yeah. I actually fluffed it and stopped pushing halfway through the race. Right. Because I was like, oh my God, I've failed. And that was embarrassing. Yeah. So I thought to myself, that's not going to happen next time he sees me race. Yeah. And so I invited him and I said, can you come with me to Stoke Mandeville, which is the birthplace of the Paralympics? Which is, you wouldn't think that, but Stoke Mandeville's got a hospital there, and it's got a track there, and it's the birthplace of the movement. Right. And I said to him, there's a race in Stoke Mandeville, it's one of the fastest tracks we've got in the UK. Yeah. Please be my sort of, be my roadie and come and support me. And that was the race that I had PB'd quite well in. Right.
Did you win it?
I did. I think I came second. I couldn't win it because wherever I would race, the world record holder would also race. We're good friends now. Right. But she was always there. She's a world record holder. She was a world record holder in 2012. So it was hard to catch up to her. Right. But I think I came second. But for me, it didn't really matter where I came because even if I'd have come last but PB'd, that would have been significant. Yeah. And that's how I felt. I PB'd, it was a big one, and I was just so happy to get under a certain barrier. Yeah. Because that's what you're doing, you're chasing all the time. Yeah. Metaphorically and physically, you're chasing to close the gap. Yeah. And that was a turning point for me. That was probably 2013, so only a year, but to be fair, the change came from the hard work. Right. It was day in, day out, grueling. It was push till your hands bleed. Yeah. And I would come home from the track most nights crying because someone beat me or I wasn't going as fast as somebody, and I just used it as fuel. Yeah. Because I hate failing. Yeah. And that, I just used it as power to push on.
So in 2014, 2015, you quit work. You're number 10 in the UK. You've got to get up 7 places to be in the top 3. What was that final push like to get from 10 to 3?
So rather than just training in that sort of short 3-hour window that you've got after work, I had to redo the training programme and work with a coach and also British Athletics to fill my now available time with nothing but training from the minute you open your eyes to the minute that you go to bed. And training isn't just about pushing. So I would probably push on average about, at least the minimum was 10k
a day.
But, a day. Yeah. But it was more like half a marathon a day. But you would also have your recovery, and that's what's really important, is that your recovery is also part of your plan.
Right.
And I wasn't recovering when I was working full time because I wasn't having that downtime. I wasn't doing, my stretching properly. I wasn't doing my sports massages.
Yeah.
I wasn't eating particularly well as I should have been. And that all came down to having such little time.
Yeah.
So
like food prep, having to then go to work.
None of that.
It's
and
a
often
lot, isn't it?
I work for a food retailer.
Yeah.
And I would just have to go down to the shop and get whatever was in the shop that day, and that's not fuel for an athlete. So that all completely changed. So having 24/7 dedication helped me to build in everything that was missing.
Yeah.
And that's what elevated me. And I could also attend more races.
Right.
So the more races you do, the more times you get, the more prep that you have, the more competitive prep you have, the more chances you've got of getting your times down. Yeah. And it's your times that are the core element of your selection.
Right.
So I was on the road every week.
Right.
Doing races and things like that. Whereas when you're working and you've got deadlines at work, you can't do that.
Yeah. So, do you remember the moment you got told you were selected for Team GB?
I do, because it was a bit of a nightmare of a day, to be honest. So, I had a bit of a bumpy ride to get selected. We all got told that we would be told on a certain day. Yeah. So, and that's the same for all of the athletic teams. So when I say athletics, I mean track and field. Yeah. So, your throwers, your jumpers, and your runners or your racers.
So the whole
hundreds
team,
of us just waiting there patiently to see if. And they said to us, you'll find out by I think it was 8 p.m.
Right.
And obviously I'm sat there all day.
Wait.
But I'm also talking to other athletes. Yeah. We're all going like, have you heard? Yeah. Oh, but I've heard this person's heard. Right. And it's like Chinese whispers, and you're all just sort of putting, 2 and 2 and making, 5, and you're all just. It was stressful, and I actually got my call towards the back end of the day. Right. And I knew it was a no. And I got told, no, you're not coming.
What?
And no, it's a story and a half. So the head coach at Britain, called Paula Dunn. Paula's a retired athlete herself. And Paula said, I'm so sorry, you've not made it. And it was strange because I was expecting it because it was quite late in the day. Yeah. And I knew some of my friends had been told to do it in. Right. And so I was expecting it. And I think I just went into massive denial. Yeah. To be honest. Because one of my friends at the very start of my journey had said, you get out what you put in. Right. And I, again, just carried that mantra with me the whole time. And I just thought to myself, there's no way that I can do this, give up my life, do what I've done, and not get there. So I kind of just didn't let it sink in for a couple of days, and I was on my own in the flat. Matthew, my partner, he was at his mum's or something, and it was really late. It was like 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And I hadn't put anything on social media. And Paula rang me again.
Right.
And she just said, I'm just ringing to see how you are, because I know it's really hard news, and I just, wanted to know how you are. And I said, well, you know what? I'm fine. I'm disappointed and devastated, but I don't know, something's not right. And she said, well, okay, well, I just wanted to let you know that I've managed to get you in.
What?
And I was like, what? What do you mean? And there was some sort of like logistics, behind the scenes, and they managed to, a space came available. I think at this point, I was like a second reserve. So if somebody was ill, or couldn't make it for whatever reason, I would go in. But I even said this at the time to Paula. I said, there's absolutely no chance that somebody's going to be ill and not go. I said, even if you are ill, you're just going to go.
Yeah. And
she was like, So I was second reserve, but they'd managed to free up a space. I think there was a bit of rejigging across the board of other countries.
Right.
And there was maybe, I don't know, a little trade or something. I'm not really sure how it worked. And they said, you've got in. And I was like, absolutely amazing. Tears.
Yeah.
She hung up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's nobody in the flat to hug. There's nobody around.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh. So I just got in the car and drove straight over to my partner's mum's and called him down, and I played a little joke on him. I played a joke on everybody actually for about 3 days afterwards, because everyone knew, and they were all like, how you doing? And I was like, I'm fine. So I played a joke on him, and I was like, that's just I'm in. And it was just, it was a bit of a whirlwind, to be honest.
Wow.
Imagine being told no, and then not giving up after the no, and then being told yes.
You manifested that.
Do you think?
Yeah.
With my
maybe because I think you didn't believe it was a no, did you?
No, not really. I didn't start.
I believe in stuff like that. I believe that what you believe happens. Do you know what I mean? If you truly believe it here, not like if you just, not up here, it can't come from here, it's got to come from here. But if you really truly believe something, the universe has a way of making it happen.
It was 4 years. 4 years of
4 years of effort builds up a lot of energy behind it.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
And it wasn't a slow burner either. It had to be all or nothing from the minute I came back from London.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, I'll just see how I like this and see how I go.
Dip my toe in.
I was completely serious.
Wow.
From the minute. And, I would fundraise for everything that I needed, you know, because para-athletics is so expensive.
Yeah.
And there's no sponsorship deals. You know, I didn't have the benefit of the Olympians who have, Adidas and Nike after them.
Did the sponsorship deals come once you got into the Olympics?
They did from private investors, not brands.
Right.
And I think that is the disparity between Olympic and Paralympic. We would see Olympians getting all this sort of free stuff.
Yeah.
So, for example, when I made it into the Paralympic village, absolutely buzzing, got to the flat, and we had this little welcome pack.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's this welcome pack? And it was what was it? It was an extension cable.
Right.
And an extension cable and a selfie, like a selfie stick.
Yeah.
And something else that was equally a bit naff.
Yeah.
And then word had got around, and we found out that the Olympians were getting a Samsung phone and things like this, and just really nice lucrative gifts. And I was like, how come we don't have that?
How come we're getting a selfie stick?
How come we're getting a selfie stick? I don't want a
charger.
and it was, I thought it was actually really offensive.
Yeah.
And actually my experience in the Paralympic village was positive, but it wasn't what I thought it was.
Right.
Because actually I'd seen Paralympics on the telly.
Yeah.
And it's not as it is on the telly. It's an edited version of Glory. So my interpretation, and also the unfairness of a few things between Olympians and Paralympians just highlighted to me why we have such a need in the UK, but also elsewhere, for just increasing disability awareness and disability inclusion. I'm really passionate about it. Because it didn't represent the work that we had put in. Because we put in the same work as the Olympians, and it just wasn't. And even actually on the start line of my race in Rio, that was a bit of a moment as well. We did a little warm-up loop, and because it's televised, you don't get time to just, warm up properly. I mean, you do behind the scenes, but you don't get much track time. You're on, you're off. That's how it goes. And there was a sea of yellow and green, and I saw maybe a tiny little dot of blue on the home straight, and I was like, that's my family, because they had blue t-shirts and it said Team Tait on it, nice. And I could see them and I could hear them going Carly, but the only reason why I heard them, because I've got a hearing impairment, so I can't hear anything, is because they kept saying Carly. Everybody else around them started shouting Carly on the home straight, and that was a definite moment.
How did that first race go?
Sorry?
How did that first race go?
So I actually only went to Rio for the one race. That was the race that I was selected, and I came in. It was a final, so I came 6th. That's
not too bad, is it?
Actually,
in the world?
and I was pretty chuffed for that. I was I just didn't want to come last, and again, that's not the mindset of an athlete either. You're not wanting to come last. You're meant to want to come first. And I think that's partly the reason why I went on to do another year to do Worlds as well.
Did you?
Yeah, so I did the Paralympic, and then I trained for another year to do the World Championship, because the World Champs were at the London Stadium.
Right.
And I wanted to do that 360.
Right.
Of coming back. And actually in London, that was the same start line. I knew where I was sitting in the stand, and I had a bit of a moment, and I looked at it, saw myself on the start line, and I thought I can do better than Rio. And I did. I got to 5th, and I did better. And I did the 400 and the 800 as well, so I did more races. And I think at that point, I had done enough. I don't think...
Did you feel like mission accomplished here?
Yeah.
And how has it changed your, all of that mental training, physical training? How has that changed you now, 4 years later?
I don't let many things hold me back anymore. I'm not so much of a procrastinator anymore, and I do just find a way around it. So I wanted civilian life back. That's what I call it. When you go back to normal life and you can eat what you want. I wanted, I did. So we got told that if any athlete was to be seen in McDonald's, there's a McDonald's on site in the Paralympic Village.
There's a McDonald's in the Paralympic Village?
Yeah, and it's free. Amazing. So
that makes absolutely no.
No, I know. But you basically, it's free. You can get anything you want. There's a queue, obviously.
There's a queue?
But I was in a wheelchair. I was I'll stay here all day.
So these Olympic athletes are eating McDonald's as we're about to compete for the biggest race of their life?
Yeah, but obviously, I do think so. This is what we were told. They said, if we see you in there before you finish competing, we're going to come down hard on you and we'll probably send you home. So, you couldn't just take the mic.
Go in there and have a milkshake.
No. So on the day that I had finished, and all that worry and all of that anxiety, because I had that sort of, I was terrible with race nerves. Always was, always will be, I think. And I just parked myself in that McDonald's queue, and I was like, I am eating a feast. And I literally got like chicken nuggets, burgers, and I got loads of stuff.
Yeah.
And it was like a picnic.
Yeah.
And I just went and sat with this massive McDonald's. So when I returned to civilian life, I was like, I just want some normality back.
Yeah.
I want to see some friends.
Yeah.
But also I want a baby, and I want to start a family.
Yeah.
And prior to sort of being an athlete, I would worry about stuff like that.
Do you think that gave you the confidence to be able to go and do it?
Yeah, and my partner as well. He was a massive support network for me during my ambition of being an athlete, and I took it for granted a lot. Actually, the people that you need around you.
Yeah.
You know, you don't just need your coaches.
Yeah.
You need your family and your friends.
Yeah.
You need them to build you up. So he did a huge amount of that, and his family did, to be honest. And it was the same with, okay, let's start a family.
Yeah.
Because it was an unknown. And I think everyone's fearful of the unknown. But because I found the strength to do what I was doing with athletics, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to do it. Because what baby and what child is going to be bothered that their mum had a wonky walk?
Yeah.
Like, they're not really.
Bothered,
it's not that big a deal.
No.
Being in a wheelchair is not that big a deal to children.
But they will be bothered the fact that you went to Rio.
Yeah, well, he doesn't know yet, but
He will do though.
no,
I think
I hope
that
so.
will like forever inspire him that his mum was a Paralympian.
Well, I can't remember what we were saying the other day, but we said something about, that was it. I needed some waterproofs for going, because we've had terrible weather at the minute.
Yeah.
I wanted to go to Knowsley Safari Park, and it was absolutely like throwing it down.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need some waterproof. Because when you're sat in a wheelchair and it rains, the water pools in your lap. And this is a thing I never knew about wheelchairs, is that fashion in wheelchairs is really hard.
Yeah.
Because you need to protect yourself from the elements.
Yeah.
And so I went to get some waterproofs, and I was like, wow, have I got waterproofs? And then I remembered that when you're part of the British team, they give you everything that you need, kit-wise. And they gave me some waterproofs. And I got Matthew to go to the loft and get them down, and I found them. And I went, oh, Lucas, look, these are Mummy's Team GB trousers. And I just thought, wow, that's a really mad thing to say.
Yeah, it is.
Because he won't know anything, and he'll just know me as Mummy. But I was like, wow, I've just reminded myself in that little moment that I was on the world stage.
What an amazing story. Thank you so much, Carly.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me tell it. I don't often tell it nowadays.